Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Morning, Chairman Leach.
Morning.
I have several questions. I'll try to distill these down and not go through all of them, but are you aware of the public testimony and discussion this session regarding the 1925 abortion ban in the context of some other legislation that's been considered?
No.
You're not aware of that discussion?
And you'll have to remind me, I might be, but at this time, sitting here in front of you, no, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay. So my understanding of the 1925 ban, which is was enacted by the legislature 100 years ago, laws for prosecution for abortion, including prosecution of women. So I think it does other things, but I think that's the main thing. So with that context, are you aware of concerns that referencing or amending the 1925 ban in new legislation could inadvertently revive that legislation?
So I don't know if you were here earlier when I mentioned this in the opening, but let me be very, very clear that I will never vote for or support, nor would I remain quiet on any legislation that seeks to criminalize a woman who has an abortion.
I appreciate that. I did hear you say that. Yeah.
And I'm not only in word, but in deed, I've proven that. And that has not and will not change.
Okay. So if the 1925 law did do that, you would, and it looked like your bill inadvertently somehow resuscitated that law, you would want to change that.
So as the bill author, again, I'll speak for myself, but I'm quite certain that I can speak for all the people behind me that I know are supporting this bill, including the major, well, I should say that the respected, legit pro-life groups that actually care about the cause of life and have been in the trenches for a long time. I think that if this bill or any other bill attempted to criminalize women, that they would not support, they would want the bill to die. I will not let my bill turn into that.
Okay. So if we, heard testimony or other information that led us to believe that could be an unintended consequence of the bill, you would be open to changing that, to clarify that you're in no way interested in doing anything that would open.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's any concern whatsoever among any of you or other legislators or the public about the criminal implications on a woman who's seeking or who has had an abortion, show me the language. Let's clarify that and let's set it in stone.
Great. Okay. So shifting gears, in 2003, when the wrongful death statute was amended to allow lawsuits related to pregnancy loss, abortion was specifically excluded from that statute. So why does this bill reverse that policy and allow abusive partners to sue based on an abortion that was legal and performed out of state?
Chairman Turner, can you state the 2003 law again? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I answer your question.
Sure. There's a wrongful death statute
Yeah.
in 2003, and it was amended to allow lawsuits related to pregnancy loss. However, abortion was specifically excluded in that 2003 law.
Okay. What's the question?
Because the question is, why does this bill reverse that policy and allow abusive partners to sue based on an abortion that was legally performed out of state?
That is a policy decision that, as the author of the bill, I support and have included in there. When you talk about a wrongful death cause of action, and I know this is kind of where we get into some of the hot, passionate disagreement. I believe that child that has been terminated is in fact a human life worthy of protection. And so when you talk about our wrongful death causes of action in the state, whether a baby is lost by virtue of an abortion or some other intentional act, that I believe that not only the woman but the father should be allowed to pursue a wrongful death cause of action against anyone who aided in or caused the death of his child.
So even, I just want to make sure I understand that. So even in cases where an abortion was performed in another state where abortion is legal, your bill would allow a cause of action for a legal abortion performed in another
Let
state?
me clarify. Let me clarify that. I don't want to give you an answer and be wrong. Under the provisions of this bill, the abortion is not taking place. I guess it could. It could take place out of state. It could be mailed from It could be mailed in from out of state, purchased online in Texas, mailed in out of state, and then taken to another state and taken by the woman there. But if it's a Texas resident, it's purchased in state in the stream of commerce in Texas, yes, that cause of action under this bill would exist, the wrongful death cause of action. But I don't know about whether an abortion that's performed legally in another state could be pursued here under wrongful death cause of action. I need to just clarify the answer to that.
Okay. So, shifting gears again, the bill includes the pre-Roe ban, that's the 1925 law, in the list of enforceable criminal abortion laws. Given that, does that mean the Attorney General's office would be authorized to sue a pregnant woman who has an abortion?
No.
The Attorney General cannot?
Sue a pregnant woman who has an abortion?
Yes.
Sue a woman? No.
Okay. On the committee substitute, on page 3, line 15, 16, so subsection B, it starts section notwithstanding any other law, subsection A does not prohibit. I just want to make sure you.
What page are you on?
Page 3 of the bill. Line 15, 16.
Okay,
You see that? Okay.
I do.
All right. So if you go down to the bottom of that page, under number 4, so we're saying subsection A does not prohibit the possession, distribution, mailing, transport, delivery, or provision of an abortion-inducing drug for a purpose that does not include performing, inducing, attempting, or assisting in abortion.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand what that means. So saying does not prohibit possessing, distributing, delivery, or provision of one of these drugs, that's okay as long as it's for a purpose that does not include performing, inducing, attempting, or assisting in abortion. So what would that situation be? When
So there are defenses that are specified in the bill. You've correctly identified the operative language of who the bill is targeting. So any manufacturer, distributor, mailing, transport, delivery, prescribing, providing an abortion-inducing drug. But then there are defenses to that if you look down at the bottom of page 3, continuing on to page 4. So, for instance, you've got a defense if the possession, distribution, mailing, transport, or provision of the drug enabled a licensed physician to treat a pregnant woman during a medical emergency. That's one instance. You've also got the entrapment if you've got if an abortion-inducing drug was used for a purpose that did not include performing, inducing, attempting, or assisting in abortion. And Representative Turner, Chairman Turner, I'm going to defer to one of the medical experts on what those situations might be. But the one that I'm focused on mainly is if in the case of a medical emergency.
Sure, and that's the medical emergency is in subsection 5, and I understand that. And I think you're saying that if it's in a medical emergency, this law doesn't apply if it's a physician who's treating a pregnant woman. But subsection 4, by my reading, is a distinct section that appears to say it's okay to deliver, possess, transport one of these drugs if it's not being used to perform, induce, attempt, or assist an abortion. I'm just wondering what that scenario would be, because it appears to be separate and distinct from the medical emergency and the license.
Sure, I can tell you what it is. I'm not sure I have the expertise to tell you what it's not. What this bill is intended to address is the activity where it is clear a woman is or someone else is purchasing online and receiving from out of state a drug that is intended to induce an elective abortion. It's in the situation of an elective abortion where the baby's starved, the birth is then induced. Those are the situations that the bill is intended to address. If we need to tighten language, Representative Turner, to address any concerns you might have, I'm happy to consider doing that. But in terms of what those other situations might be, if you'll just allow me to defer to the medical experts, I'd prefer to do so.
Okay. So similarly, so again, this whole section starts out, notwithstanding any other law, subsection A does not prohibit. And so then if you look at item 6, does not prohibit the possession of an abortion-inducing drug for purposes of entrapping a person. That violates this section. What does that mean?
So, as you'll see here on my notes, I've got section 6, which you just referenced, circled. And I literally, as I was sitting here this morning, wrote, what does this mean? So I share your question there, and I'm going to be equally interested in exactly what that entrapment would look like when the experts get up and talk about it.
I'm very curious about that too, because my plain reading of it would appear to say it is okay to possess one of these drugs if your purpose is to entrap someone under this law.
I share the same concern, which would certainly not be the intent of the legislation. We would not want to protect that.
Okay, so you would want to change that.
Yes, if in fact that's what it's intended to mean.
Thank you.
I think it needs clarification. If the author of the bill needs clarification, then certainly you do too. I'm willing to admit that.
That's all my questions
All
for
right,
now.
thank you,
Thank you.
Chairman.